you'll get a notification, just giving, you have to give permission, I think, for it to record. Let me know when that happens. It says it's recording. Did y'all get? Okay, awesome. Great. So yeah, so starting there, if anything technical happens, like if you can't see the slides or if I start to slow down in my speech, let me know. Jump in as we go and I can make a quick fix. Sometimes the Wi-Fi here is a little slow, but has been working well as of late. So we wanted to welcome you to the first of three strengths-based leadership training. Just from my perspective, just want to put this into context a little bit. What I think that we found is that the technical skills of customized employment are necessary. You have to learn the concepts, the values, philosophy, tactics, techniques, process, skills, talents of being a good customized employment practitioner. The knowledge, skills, abilities, attitudes, all that stuff. But there is, like, you can learn all that and still, I think, be limited in terms of the outcomes. And I think one of the major limitations that can happen is when an organization doesn't figure out how to best support a customized employment practitioner from the organizational perspective. So styles of management, flexibility in work approaches, access to resources and assistance. I mean, even to the very start, which is why are we changing? Hopefully the idea is I know life is all about you're kind of changed, and then you have internal changes. This is constant process of living and evolving and learning, hopefully. But we do find that in terms of scalability, as much as I hate that word from some aspects, or the ability to do the most good, organizational leadership is crucial. Organizational leadership, understanding what the work is, and from a customized employment perspective, is crucial. And organizations that have strong leadership from all the way up to the top, their ability to increase the impact of their great work and sustain it beyond individual projects, and push it forward and then lead it's crucial. And so Nancy, I'll get into the we're going to start with a brief introductory exercises, but Nancy, you know way more about this than I do. Anything you wanted to add?
No, I think you did a good job, and we'll review the agenda, and I'll go into a little bit more detail about what that is.
Great.
So we're going to do introductions with the twist, and I think, Russell, there would not be a problem with everyone answering both questions. And I know that's mysterious at this point, but we'll get to that slide shortly. We're also going to talk about organizations, leaders, and leadership, the 5 whys, which is a methodology you can use. We're going to talk about change management, specifically today, self-directed teams, another organizational change process that is so simple: start, stop, and keep. I mean, start, stop, and continue. Some people say start, stop, and keep. And there is a Forbes article about this methodology in chat, so hopefully you can pull that out. If you can't, let me know and I'll forward it to you. And then hopefully questions and answers will be how we can end today. We have a lot packed in today, so we will stop on time. And yes, you can get these slides, Robin. I'm happy to share them. And what I forgot my thought. What was I saying? Uh,
Maybe if we have a lot today, so perhaps if we don't get to the end, we'll hit everything next time. We'll add it. Was that
yeah,
what
oh,
you were doing?
yes, that was
Okay,
it.
cool.
And Leslie was not able to assess the Forbes article, so I will make sure we send that out to everybody. And so know that these three sessions kind of tumble into each other. So what we don't get through today will not be a problem. We'll pick back up there on our second session. All right, next slide.
All right. Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Great. So this is again the introductions with a twist, getting us to do a bit of reflection and a bit of sharing. So if it would be all right, what we'd like to ask you to do is we'll go through introductions and would like to ask folks name, organization, your role within the organization, and then please answer these two questions. People who run things should be blank. People will work hard if blank. So maybe we'll just sit with that for maybe 30 seconds or so, and then ask for volunteers, if that's okay, before I start calling on people to do that. Actually, how about I'll start? Would that be okay? Maybe that'll
Yes.
probably a good way to do it. Before I start calling on people, I should step up and take the bull
Yes,
for once.
you must do what we are asking others to.
Yes, for sure. So my name is Russell Sickles, and I'm with Griffin Hammis Associates, and I'm a senior consultant, and so I'm involved in with Nancy, my colleague Nancy, in implementing the customized employment portion of the CSP, the California CSP project. People who run things should be. I think people who run things should be knowledgeable. I think that they should, people who run things should understand the work and experience. I should say that, knowledgeable and experience in the things that the organization does. And then people will work hard if. That's great. People will work hard if, and that's a big one, right? And the point of this is just to give a piece. You can't give the whole answer. If I think they have the tools that they need to do the job, and if they're supported. So cool. So Moriah?
Hi, Maura Albritton.
Maura, I'm sorry. Jeez.
It's okay. It looks like Moira.
Moira.
Anyway, I'll answer to anything close. Maura Albritton, I am filling in for Joyce Clark. We are both with the Exceptional Family Resource Center. Our role on the project is to provide family support to families. There we go. People who run things should be flexible, and people will work hard if they are reinforced. Done.
Awesome. Thanks. The next hand is Adam.
Hi, everybody. I'm Adam Gothank. I'm the Associate Dean for Disability Support Services at North Orange. I think, let's see, people who run things should be active listeners, and people will work hard if they are intrinsically motivated.
Thanks, Adam. Jessica.
Good morning. I'm Jessica Grove. I'm a Deputy Director here at the California Department of Rehabilitation. People who run things should be curious, and people will work hard if they understand the impact their work has.
Awesome. All right. Other volunteers? Joyce.
All right. Let me see if I can get everything turned on here. So people who run things should be visionary and inspiring. That's two important things for me. And people who work hard if they feel their work is meaningful and impactful.
Thank you, Joyce. Wonderful. All right, Jeffrey.
So Jeff Noyes, DOR, District Administrator, San Diego District. People who run things should be listening, which is similar to what we heard before with active listening. And people who will work hard if they believe in what they're doing.
Thank you. Right, a couple more or the next volunteers? You can just jump in.
I cannot figure out how to raise my
Yeah,
hand.
just
I
jump
don't.
in. You don't have to, everybody's so polite. We just jump in and start talking, so.
So
Yeah.
I'm Leslie Baker, and I'm with Department of Rehab, and I am with the California Switchy Project. I say, in addition to all the things that everyone else has already said, I think people who run things should be prepared and organized. And people will work hard if they are motivated. You took mine, Adam, when you said intrinsically motivated, and I think I agree.
Awesome. Thanks, Leslie.
Mhm.
All right, who's next? Jump in, Sean.
Hi, everyone. Sean Fiala. I'm the program coordinator for what we call Career Support Pathways in the San Diego Community College District, which is just the CSP Switchy project. People who run things should be connected to the work that they oversee and those that work for them in the program. And people will work hard if they feel supported.
Great. Thanks, Sean. And Robin?
Hi, Robin Maitino, State Council on Developmental Disabilities. I am the manager of our business operations and committee support. And people who run things should be open to change, open to input. People who will work hard, people work hard when they feel valued.
Thank you, Robin. Great. All right, who's next?
Hi, this is
sorry.
this is Ellen. I'm sorry.
Hey, that's okay.
I just wanted to say, people who run things should be willing to roll up their sleeves and jump in when there's necessary important work that needs to be done, instead of just dictating and watching it from afar. And then people will work hard, I think, if they're recognized, and but whoever's doing the managing needs to know what is the recognition that each person plays to. Some of them it's just a pat on the back. Some of them it can be an email. Sometimes it has to be in front of peers. Sometimes that they want that recognition separate. So you need to know your staff and what each person strength and what will motivate them. I hope that.
Thank you. That's great. And where are you from? Sorry, Ellen.
I'm sorry. I'm
That's okay.
a manager with the Department of Rehab in Anaheim.
Awesome.
Sorry.
No problem. Thank you.
Morning, everybody. Chris Laurenti, Alameda County, Behavioral Health Vocational Services. And I think that people who run things should be surrounded by other people that challenge them and offer different or alternative perspectives. And I think people will work hard if they're heard and they're validated.
Nice. Thank you, Chris.
Hi, I'm Esther Basalaki, and I'm a counselor at Department of Rehab. People who run things should be caring and understanding, and people will work hard if they enjoy what they do.
Nice. Thanks, Esther.
And hello,
next.
Yazraeli. I'm the assistant director for the employment department at Anyway in San Diego. And I think people who run things should be intentional and genuine, and people work hard if they have a strong support system.
Thank you, Yazuli. Awesome. Mariah, I think you were. Oh, cool.
My name is Mariah Guajardo. I'm the project coordinator for CSP at North Orange Continuing Education. I would say people who run things should be constant learners or open to always learning, and people will work hard if they feel connected to what they do.
Awesome. Thanks, Mariah. Who's next?
I can go next. It's hard to go after so many people have gone because a lot of the answers were ones that I was thinking of myself. I think people who run things should be empathetic and active listeners. I think that's really important when you're leading a team. And I think people will work hard if they feel heard and supported. I think it's important that you always give people the opportunity to express themselves in good and bad times.
Great. All right. I think there's
Hey, good morning,
oh,
Russell.
shoot.
This is Jim.
Hey,
How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
Hey, good. Hi, this is Jim. I'm a team manager. I work in the Anaheim Department of Rehab. I've been pretty much on all the CSP calls since the beginning. People who run things, I think, need to be inspirational. They need to show by example. And then people will work hard if they see the fruits of their labor, like if they can see the outcome of their positive work.
Nice. Thanks, Jim.
This is Janet Fernandez. I'm the Senior Planning Analyst with the State Council on Developmental Disabilities. Feeling really left-brained today. I think people who run things should be rational and reasonable. And I think people will work hard if they feel like valued stakeholders.
Awesome. Thank you, Janet.
Russell, this is Patty Cholui again.
Hey, Patty.
For number one, people who run things should be patient and flexible. Number two, people who work hard if they know that they make a difference in other people's lives. Thanks.
Thank you, Patty. Right. Is that pretty much it, I think? Sonia?
Hi.
Yeah, I think.
Hi.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
Hi, I'm Sonia. I'm the Employment Services Branch Manager at DDS. And I think people who run things, and I thought about this like a leader, but maybe you're asking more about a manager. So people who run things should be strategic and visionary and value the people that work for them. And people will work hard if they trust and respect the leader and understand the mission.
Nice. Great. Thanks, Sonia. And I think Mariana, did you share?
Sorry, what's my name called?
I'm asking. Oh, yes. Did you share? Did you already go?
No, so
Okay.
I was gonna say same thing, a lot of the things have already been mentioned, but I think it's important before someone can be a good leader to be a good follower. You're able to follow, you're more likely to be open to listening to your staff. That's it.
Great. And then would you mind sharing your role? You have a really important role, if that's okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
I
okay.
am a counselor with the Department of Rehabilitation in Anaheim.
And you're also you're the counselor. You're not a counselor. You're the counselor for the for the LA area, right? In the project.
Yes, I'm the CSP
for the
counselor.
CSP. Yeah, it's like saying like LeBron James is a basketball player. He's the basketball player. Like you're the counselor, or one of two counselors. Okay, is that everyone? I think if I go through it, I'm pretty sure that's everybody. Awesome.
All right. You will hear the comments y'all have made throughout our time today. Y'all could have written guiding tips to advise leadership. So I am so excited to hear the mindset that y'all come from.
Awesome.
So Russ, if we go to the next slide, we'll jump right in now.
And I did want to, I'm so sorry, Nancy. I want to say Esther is the counselor for San Diego. So apologies, Esther. I got to give you your props too for the CSP pilot. Didn't mean to leave you out.
It's okay. Thanks.
So we're going to lay down just a little bit of ancillary information that ties back to some of the modern methods of leadership, in this 21st century that we are well into. And And so I'll save that for a little bit later, but I think it's critical, and some folks don't think about it. I think y'all would because of what I'm hearing. But this little exercise here has gone around a lot. It was attributed to Charles Schultz, but it actually is not something he came up with. So in box 1, you see the names of 10 people who've won Nobel Pulitzer Prizes, folks who were the best actor, actress through the Academy Award. In box 2, 5 people who taught you something worthwhile, people who make you feel appreciated, people who you enjoy spending time with. What do you think this is getting at? It's supposed to be done together, and we don't even need to do the activity. Just to get to what this is about. And I know that is so vague, and the expanse of what this could be tied to. I am so sorry. Let me turn my phone off. Usually I remember, but I did not. So what is being contrasted here? And it's supposed to come together as kind of an analysis of what was learned from listing these two groups. What do you think this is all about?
Whether it's an emotional connection to something or whether it's just like famous.
Yeah, and Leslie has put personal impact. Any other comments?
People who have inspired.
Yes, yes. Great points, all of you. So what tends to be shown is that we may not, personal time and investment. Yes, absolutely, Janet. What we may not know is people who won the Pulitzer and Nobel, and that is such an important piece of our civilization continuing to evolve to good places. But we may not remember those. Same with actors and actresses. Not that I compare acting to Nobel and Pulitzer Prize winners, but it does have a place in our culture for entertainment. Box 2 is people who taught us, people who had a relationship, who made us feel appreciated, who spent time with. Box 1 probably would take a bit to come up with those folks, if we would even be able to remember them. Box 2, we would probably just reel off. So the whole point of this is that it is so important to have people in our lives who care about us. The most important influencers are not those with the greatest credentials, degrees, awards, money, power. It's those who care. And this ties back to leadership, because you will see, I'm going to have Russell pull up a video with Simon Sinek, who I think is just one of the most inspirational leadership gurus, and he speaks to these traits. And later on, we're going to talk about the contrast between old school leadership and 21st century leadership. And the next slide, who I adore, Maya Angelou. I think about this all the time. When I first saw this quote, I thought, oh man, that is so true. And she writes, I've learned that people will forget what you said, what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. And as we are trying to build social connections, relationships, networks, social capital, that's critical. We don't enter into those environments to develop those connections by acting like smart. Okay, I'm not going to use that word, by acting arrogant and acting like we're above others. That is such an unactualized human being. So when we think about other folks and have authentic relationships that are give and take, social capital is reciprocal. The development of social capital is based on connecting around interest or kindness or task. So I love that quote, and I try to share it whenever I can. Russell, I'm over here trying to move the slides with my computer. So just real quickly, evidence-based organizations, and some of this I went over in the pre-orientation, but it's so important. I want to go over it again. So we know that we have got to utilize data-driven methods that work. And let me just check in chat to make sure. Yes, thank you for your comments. I did get those when you put them in. And if you look at businesses, it's about developing a culture of trust. And I heard that mentioned many times. A culture of creativity, utilizing evidence-based practices and knowledge, skills, and abilities. And so when we think about evidence-based organizations, what we are thinking about is organizations that utilize data-driven methodologies and value those. And they're looking for the latest improvements, the latest, greatest, whatever ties back to what their business is or their mission. They're comfortable with being disruptors of the status quo, what does not work, and looking at how to push forward with results that are consistent and successful outcomes. They embed evidence-based practices into the organizational structure. Training for staff is ongoing and highly valued and vital to the organization's success. Creativity and thoughtful risk-taking is encouraged, and these organizations thrive. And it's also important as we're looking at these three bubbles tied to innovation, is to recognize that leaders can be formal and informal, and we want to make sure that we are including both types of leaders. So employees buy into innovation, change, outcome development, outcome achievement. When they're listened to, when communication is clear and open and transparent, when collaboration of staff is valued, and they're respected, and there's a celebration of success. And so in an evidence-based organization, everybody contributes to the overall success of the organization. There's collaborative work to achieve outcomes and feel connected. And you know what? It looks like my internet is not stable. I live out in the country, and so I'm not going to risk losing y'all. And so organizations that successfully innovate, and this is tied back to some work that we did with Virginia Commonwealth University, the Office of Disability Employment Policy through the Federal Department of Labor, and ICI at the University of Massachusetts, Boston. So as we were beginning to do some change work around best practices, we found that, well, what's going on where some things are happening and other things seem to be stagnant and stuck? What we found is those organizations that were successful in innovating, engaged in thoughtful risk-taking, they had shared values that direct daily service and support delivery. They were functional values. Their performance measures were used to check out the quality and the outcome development and ensure that the work is done, and because it's evidence-based, to fidelity. There's oversight, compassionate oversight, and ongoing self-examination. There's also holding people accountable. Partnerships are huge, developing multiple diverse partnerships. A person-centered approach that is grounded in the community being where the good stuff happens, and a holistic view on the person. Internal and external communication plans and closed loops are critical. Continuous improvement and ongoing learning. And staff are involved in establishing those goals and outcomes. And I've included this in almost everything I do because it's kind of one of the mantras from some of the 60s change. You know, that was such a strong time of involvement in social and political and cultural change. And the mantras are the right people in the right place doing the right things. And I think it has such a meaning for leadership and organizational structure. So the structure has to support the business environment and innovation. We have to make sure that the staff have the knowledge, skills, abilities that match what we're trying to achieve. And that, again, harking back to the organizational structure, that it has to fit what we're trying to accomplish. So when I first got involved as a director, to shift from a very old school traditional model to a community-based model, focusing on employment and inclusive lives when people aren't working, the organizational structure was awful because it was segregated. It was organizational centric. It was not starting first with who the person is and how can we help them move toward the life they want. It was the organization has certain services that we provide, and those folks have to fit into it. And it was very much a deficit model instead of a social model. Okay, Russell. So what I want you to do is take a couple of minutes and just think about what were the folks who you had in your life, in your working life as supervisors or coaches or leaders. What was the impact regarding their leadership style for the best? If you say, you know, this was the best leader, supervisor, coach, mentor I ever had, what were 3 of those traits? And then let's contrast it with the folks in your history, your work history, that were the worst. What were 3 traits or characteristics that were just totally off base, turnoffs, unhelpful, demotivating? And then I want you to unmute and share after you've had a couple of minutes to reflect upon that. And Russell, if you will help me go through this. So what we're doing is setting kind of a baseline that we're going to use as we move forward to discuss methods that you may want to incorporate that are tied to evidence-based practices for change management. And so this again is just kind of let's get aware of what are the traits we would not want to be operating from, and what are some of the traits that impacted us and made us better people because of them being in our life, but all in a work setting. So Russell, if you'll call time and then go through and call folks and see what was uncovered.
Cool. So you just want us to reflect for a minute or so and then share?
Yeah,
Okay.
let's give folks a couple of minutes to
Okay.
to
Let's give
reflect.
like 2 minutes, if that's okay. Jot some notes down.
Yeah.
So it's been about maybe a minute and a half. Would it be okay if do you have volunteers before I start calling on people? Yeah, jump in, Adam. Thank you.
Okay, hi again, everybody. So I had examples immediately come to my mind, and so and I think I'm fortunate. I've had a number of mentors who have been absolutely amazing. One of them that has mentored me in ways that have lived with me for several decades, and I always return to, was somebody who paid a lot of attention to everybody, was kind of fearless in dealing with issues that came his way, and encouraged me to be, fearless in dealing with difficult things. In other words, don't hesitate to jump in and deal with difficult things. It's part of your role. You have to do it. So you might as well just jump in. He was somebody that taught me how to assume that you can do whatever it is that you want to do, and then take action and move forward. He was very empowering, very positively reinforcing, and just how that's had an impact at North Orange Continuing Education, where I currently am at, is we have developed many programs that are not required of a college district, and instead of asking if we can do that, we just assume that we could do that, and we move forward, and nobody's ever stopped us from doing the things that we thought we could do. And then the contrast was somebody who really, really did not pay attention to anything that I shared with them. And instead of working to remove the barriers to progress, it felt like they were continuously putting barriers in the way, and really failed to understand the priorities of the department that I was leading.
Thanks, Adam. Great stuff. Robin typed in the chat, best inspiring, invested in my growth, transparent. And then worst, self-involved, aloof, managed by fear. Adam, one of the things you said to me, some leader said this at one point, like people when they took on something that maybe they hadn't done before, it was like they made the assertion, all right, we're going to do this, and then that intention, then they figure out the means along the way. You know what I mean? It's like you make. It felt like their whole that was their mode, their mission: make the assertion, figure out the means. So like, we're going to do this. So that reminded me of that. So. Leslie says, best relationship building focused, shared the vision, provided honest, constructive feedback. Worse, disconnected, absent, skirted issues. Sean, yeah, jump in. Thank you.
I would just say that I've been really fortunate in this field to not have any leaders on the right-hand side all of the people I've worked with in this field have been amazing leaders, no ineffective leaders. So I'll focus on the left. I would just say one of the most important qualities that I have appreciated in everyone I've worked for is humility. So just humble professionals. That's something that I really appreciate in a leader. I've worked for people that are supportive and empathetic, and also just trusted you to be the professional that you are, and just created a culture that you could thrive in.
Awesome. Thanks, Sean. I'll just read. I'm going to go in order that I'm seeing the stuff come in, if it's okay. So thank you, everybody. Mariana said best, someone who listens and are genuinely caring. In addition, they were fair and willing to teach. And then Janet said, great supervisors, collaborative, maintained a respectful demeanor, and met people on equal footing as valued team members, honest. Worst, arrogant, secretive, demanding, and dismissive. Lori?
Yeah, one of my mentors is in this meeting, so shout out to Adam. But I think one of the greatest leadership styles is being dedicated to your professional development, even if it's outside of the organization that you're currently within. Just being dedicated to growing a leader. I think that's really impactful because it shows that I think a great manager is not is somebody who focuses on the people that they're managing and the institution that they're managing for. And so I think that when you are on the employer or employee side of that, having someone who's really keeping an eye on you and making sure that you're reaching your personal goals in addition to the company goals, I think is really important. And then the worst, I worked in restaurants for a really long time. And I think the worst management was definitely people who didn't lead by example. I think it's really important to, someone said this earlier in the icebreaker, but getting your hands dirty and doing all of the tasks that you're asking other people to do, being knowledgeable in those tasks is important. So the worst leaders are people who were kind of like, I'm above that work and I'm not going to do it with you or for you.
Awesome. Thanks, Lori. Sonia?
Hi there. So the best leaders, I think the one that I've experienced has been valuing others and making decisions as a result of that value, which results in like company policies and things like that. Making the vision clear, making sure everybody's aligned with that vision, and then leading by example. I think the worst had to do with nepotism and different standards for different people. And then also drama and circular conversations that resulted from that and targeting others.
Thanks, Sonia. Mariana, just want to share, she wrote text in worst, never wrong, made you feel less than when teaching, did not inspire, and made people hide things due to fear. Cool. I think that sounds, so thanks for sharing. I think that's enough, huh, Nancy? Is that okay if we, okay, awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Yeah.
So as we are winding down to kind of get a handle on thinking about leadership, we're going to look at these traits. And, there's always it can kind of feel hokey when you get these list of things, no matter what the focus, but these seem to be soundly identified based on individuals looking at the research around this, but know that there are many folks who are great leaders who don't have some of these things that are listed as traits. But what I want you to do, the only thing I want you to do is we're going to go through them, even as tedious as it may seem, but we'll go through them quickly and just do a mental check of where you think you fall. Are there any areas here that you really excel at? Are there areas that you want to improve in? Those will be your own personal information for whatever journey you want to use them as you move forward in your life as a leader. Effective leaders are team players. shared goals, creating synergy, emotionally aware, good emotional intelligence, and recognizing their own emotions and how they can negatively impact others or positively impact others. Controlling those emotions and impulses when they would be disruptive. And that's under emotional self-control, adaptability, flexibility. You can't be rigid, be an effective leader. Life doesn't work that way. Human services don't work that way. Achievement orientation, always striving to improve and working from standards of excellence. Positive outlook, empathy, and I hear that in both what y'all felt was important as well as what leaders who were impressive to you created in their interactions with staff. Organizational awareness, being able to read the group's emotional tone, being able to understand power relationships, perceptive, inspirational, influential, and being able to facilitate, negotiate, and resolve disagreements. So the role of leader is not to develop ideas and plans and put those out for people to implement. The role is to facilitate the development of a culture in which employees help make that happen. As we noted, leaders inspire, they advise, they support, they don't command. They have good interpersonal skills. They're important in terms of helping employees feel empowered. Employees will buy in when they feel that they've been listened to, communicated clearly and transparently, being allowed to collaborate, and when they've been respected and valued for their ideas. Also, there needs to be celebrating of successes. Leaders, and this is so critical in this grant that is part of the SWTC work around the country released through RSA. Leaders have to provide teams with the time and resources to learn new skills, practice the new skills, implement the new skills, and then embed the innovation into the work of the organization. We can't do this work alone. It's got to be a team-based culture. So in essence, effective teams work together and contribute to the overall success of the organizational mission, vision, implementing the values in the daily work they do. Also, it's critical to think differently about how do we find folks to do this work. Individuals that were in roles of caretaking or had low expectations of folks with disabilities, they are not going to be a good fit for what we're doing now around disability. So they've got to recruit differently. They've got to hire differently. They've got to interview differently. And they've got to use open-ended value-based questions. And the interview should be in a conversational style to get away from creating at the get-go that this is traditional because you sit in front of this desk where I interrogate you through questions. Also, one thing that sometimes we forget, sadly, is the importance of hiring for diversity. A workforce that has individuals with different life experiences, background, perspectives, cultures, that expands the opportunities for different perspectives, creativity, innovation. And through that, you have more options for decision-making and problem solving. So when we hire for our workforce to reflect diversity of the community where we're working, it creates better services and supports to help diverse populations. So knowing your leadership style helps you provide guidance, coaching, feedback. You can better understand your motivators, how you make decisions, and your preferred business strategies, and whether or not you feel they're working or it's an area you want to improve in. So Russell's going to play a video of Simon Sinek, who is a guru, business guru. I think I just love listening to him. He's engaging, and he just has a different way of thinking about leadership. And I also love the way he thinks as he's talking. You can see the gears interacting. All right, Russell.
Okay, great. Just give me a second, y'all, and I'll pull it up. So there's gonna be like 3 seconds of an ad on YouTube, so apologies for that. Okay, here we go. Share sound. Okay. I've been looking for running shoes. That's why you're seeing this ad, man.
Customize the ad that we have.
All the great leaders, everybody from Martin Luther King to Steve Jobs, every single one of them, those with the capacity to inspire, they all think, act, and communicate the exact same way, and it's the complete opposite to the rest of us. Where the rest of us start with what we do, these great leaders, those with the capacity to inspire and lead great change, all of them always start with why they do what they do. Great leaders are able to paint a picture of a future state that does not yet exist, a world that does not yet exist, in words so clear that we can imagine it ourselves. And if we're driven by that cause, we want to commit ourselves to help build that world. We can imagine that, we can see it, we can paint that picture in our own minds. And if that's the world we want to live in, we will raise our hands and volunteer and commit to help to build it. It doesn't have to be a social movement, but great leaders, even in business, act like social movements. They give us something to believe in, they give us a future state that does not yet exist, and offer us the opportunity to contribute our hard work, our blood, sweat, and tears to help build that world. They serve as a compass. That's what they do. Every single organization on the planet, even our own careers, always function on 3 levels: what we do, how we do it, and why we do it. What we do are the products we make, the services we offer, the things we sell, you know? How we do it are those, whether you call it your unique selling proposition or your proprietary process or whatever you want to call it. It's the things that you think make you different or special or stand out from the crowd. But it's this concept of why we do what we do, this purpose, cause, or belief that drives every one of us, why the company exists in the first place. We don't need another one of whatever you're selling. You know, there's plenty, you know, but why do we need you? You know, and it's not because of how you do it differently or what you do. There's something deeper there. It was the very reason why the company was formed. When organizations start with why, the response they will get from people who believe what they believe will be visceral. It will be deeply personal and in the emotional part of the brain. It will be hard for people to explain why they are so drawn to Southwest Airlines or Harley Davidson or Apple. They'll talk about, oh, it's the design, it's the quality, it's the service. But in the reality, it's deeper than that. It's in the part of the brain that controls behavior, but not language. The best they can sum up is, I don't know, I just love it. But the reality is, it actually is one of the things that helps them define who they are. Apple is able to inspire loyalty amongst customers and employees, and shareholders for that matter, because the way they view themselves is different than the way most other computer companies view themselves. Most other computer companies define themselves by what they do. They make computers, and everything they try to do is in an effort to improve upon that thing. Add more RAM, add more speed, make it blue, you know? Apple defines themselves by why they exist, to challenge the status quo. You know, power to the individual, think different. And everything they say and everything they do is to advance that idea. There was mass spontaneous mourning when Steve Jobs died. He's just a CEO of a company. He's a multi-billionaire who flies around in corporate jets. I mean, he's more like the rest of them than he is like us. And yet, we mourned his loss. Fundamentally, what a leader is supposed to do is offer a vision to the people who choose to join and offer them protection. And when people feel that their leaders have their interest in mind, they are rewarded with loyalty, love, innovation, ideas, progress. That's the thing I'm grappling with now, which is how do we create that movement so that management and leaders will create environments in which we come to work, we feel safe, we feel loved, we feel protected, we naturally cooperate as a result, we naturally trust each other as a result, we're committed to working harder, giving loyalty, sharing ideas, driving innovation. All we want to do is contribute. And so how do we create those environments in which we naturally work at our best? That would change our world.
Any comments? Does it resonate? No comment?
Was everybody able to hear that? Hopefully, were you able to hear it, Nancy? Hopefully.
Oh, I can't hear it. I cannot.
No, before the video.
Oh, yes, I heard
Yeah,
the
yeah.
video.
Oh,
Y'all
awesome.
able to hear it?
He's pretty, he had what's his book called? The Power of, not Power of Why.
Embracing an Infinite Mindset?
Okay, that one. Yeah, I thought there was something else about finding your why or something.
Oh, yes,
Okay.
finding your why. Yes.
Okay, cool. He had a lot of coffee before that interview. Man, he was on a roll there.
And that's how he tends to be. Well, maybe we just want to reflect upon it, and he's got bunches of stuff out there. If you did feel a connection to what he had to say, so let's move now to the next slide. So we're gonna, gosh, there's this weird blocking. Do you see these black rectangles?
That's the, let me stop share and go. That's the, I'm looking at, why does that? It's the video screen. I don't know why it does that if I'm, let me stop I'm sorry, I'm gonna stop the slideshow and then restart it again. Maybe that's what has to happen.
Now, while Russell's doing that, we're going to use something called the 5 whys. Has anyone heard of that method? Perhaps not. I see no indication. But it's a cause and effect way, or a cause and effect structure to find why something's not working. And I love this. And we're also going to, and this may run into next meeting. It's stop, start, continue. I love simple ways of getting to the cause of a problem and how to then be able to find solutions. I hate, and this may not be necessarily your feeling. A lot of people like the root cause analysis that gets into a bunch of stages, steps, paperwork, but I like this simple. Let's get to the heart of the matter. And that's what the 5 whys is all about. And there's a long history about the founder of Toyota who developed this. There is some criticism of it around digging deep enough. But the primary goal, again, is to figure out why is something happening. And 5 whys is what seems to be able to get to a place where you can then take the information and come up with a possible solution, or at least a solution to start with. So there's really nothing magic about 5. It might take less, it might take more, but that's kind of what tends to be the case to dig deep enough and get rich enough information. So I'm going to show you this, but Russell, and then we're going to come back to it. But Russell, if you'll go down one more slide. This is why we're doing it, because the third task here, you're going to use the 5 whys, and hopefully, and you can go back now because we'll read this shortly and delve into it. So if you'll go back, yeah. So I just want to share how to use it. I use it all the time. I even use it in my own, like I paint abstract modern art, and if I'm not happy with the result, I will go through and say, why? And it may be as simple as the blue that I put somewhere was way out of sync with another color that was nearby, and I needed to use this other color. So it can be that simple. But I find it helpful both in my personal life and my work life. So during the process of the 5 whys, we are not identifying possible solutions yet. We're finding out what's not working. So you first start with identifying a problem. You ask why the problem is occurring. Then you ask, based on the response at that second stage, again, why is that occurring? And you continue the process until you get to a root cause. So would somebody be willing to volunteer with me? Identify a problem that you are struggling with, or folks would like Russell, maybe you and I can do it, but let me open up. Would someone be willing to bring up a problem? For example, one could be, why is capacity an issue in terms of being able to provide evidence-based practices regarding employment? So we're thinking about things like that. So is there a volunteer in the audience that would be willing to go through this exchange with me? Just to practice it and show you how it works.
Sure, go for it.
Great. All right. So I am going to, for the moment, take put my video back on. All right. So what is your problem? What is the thing that is not working that you want to get to the root cause of?
So we've got a supervisor who endlessly puts out surveys and collects the data, and then nothing happens.
Okay. So the problem is that surveys are being done, but nothing is occurring from what's learned from the survey. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. So Jenna, why? Why is that the case?
Which part? Why are they doing the survey? Why are they not doing anything with the results?
So why is the person implementing surveys but not using the data for improvement? Why is that the case?
Who knows? They're in charge.
All right. So why are they in charge of the survey?
They're in charge of the agency.
All right. So is this a leadership person?
Yes.
And does the person have power over you?
Yes.
Okay. So then let's shift the problem now to the person who is not sharing the data from the supervisors is in a leadership position. So why has that not been addressed with the person?
Why has that not been addressed with the person?
Uh-huh.
Which person in leadership?
Yeah, the one person who is not, who is kind of the block for getting the useful information out there. So in other words, we're shifting to a different question based on the fact that she has power over you. And so we want to look at a different route. So where before we were trying to get at, is the it could be stuff like the survey's not going out because the person's overwhelmed. Why is the person overwhelmed? Because they have been tasked with other jobs that are not theirs. Why has that been the case? Because we have not filled a vacant position. Why have we not filled a vacant position? Because no one has taken charge. So the solution would be for someone who has power to hire to move forward to hire in that position. That could be that kind of situation. But because the person has power over you, now what we've got to do is figure out a strategic way to bring it to the person's attention that that information is needed. So, so there is an issue. Why has no one talked with her about, and perhaps they have, but we're going to ask it as a why question. Why has no one talked to her about being able to get the results of the survey?
So perhaps I didn't frame the problem correctly. Let's say there is a staff climate survey. Leadership is expected to report to their leadership about staff climate. What are people's strengths? What are their deficits? What are their preferences? And how do they see themselves within the general environment of this agency?
And is it individually rated, or is it rated holistically?
So the data, and there are two kinds of data collected. Some of it is quantitative, yes, no responses, rating scales. Some of it is qualitative. So you've got anecdotal responses. And that information is collected by the leader who is interested in collecting it, and there it lies. So no one really knows what the point of the survey was. People feel exposed and vulnerable, having disclosed honest responses, and there is no discernible shift in leadership culture.
Okay, so let me back up. This is has some complexities to it, so it's a great example. So why is the survey done?
That's a great question. That's never explained.
Why is it never explained?
Who knows?
Is it that the person who's in charge of it has never shared with folks what the purpose is?
Correct.
Why has she never done that?
You're asking for motivation that's derived from the leader and can't be assumed by those taking the surveys. So I think the critical missing link here is the why. Is a process or procedure being implemented without explaining the underlying reasons to those who are involved?
So the why for that may be that she asked the surveys to be done and then nothing comes from it, right? Nothing is shared, as you said. So why has there not been a discussion about this with her?
Let's say the agency's primary mission is intense, focused, and community-based. There is not a culture of staff development, internal process analysis and revision, and mutual accountability between leadership and line staff.
And why is that the case?
This is an entrenched institution with decades of practice without institutional assessment, evaluation, and meaningful change.
So I got a lot of information from you because it was this person is doing these surveys, but the information never gets out. There seems to be a culture of fear. What's going to happen with the information? Why is that the case? The culture, would you say the culture does have a component of fear? Am I getting that right? Fear
I
of,
think anytime there's a lack of information, people backfill that vacuum with fear, uncertainty, questions. So anytime there's a vacuum, it will be filled with something, and typically not something positive.
right. So the why of all of that is that it hasn't been addressed. It's an old school philosophy. So a possible solution then would be to identify either a team of folks who could invite this person to the meeting or one spokesperson and present to that leader the concerns about, and I would do it in a positive, non-threatening way. Like, we feel there's important information being asked. We would love to know more about it because that can tie back to improvement, staff development needs, et cetera, et cetera. So this one was a little bit different, but I liked it. But it got back to this stuck organization in maybe some unhealthy processes. It sounds kind of old school, but the solution from all of those whys would be the courage for someone to go and speak to that person about the purpose of those. Is there a way the information can be disseminated? Is there a way that a team of folks maybe even could look at what are the needs, the training that would be important based on information received? And again, it might be that nothing comes from that. And then sometimes we have to make the decision, is that the environment that we feel we're thriving in? So does that make sense?
It does.
Okay. All right. And I know, let's see, there was, all right. So, Robin confused, how would she know what someone else is thinking? So in the moment of asking why, again, it may not be, we can't know what someone else is thinking. But through asking the why and sometimes getting at, well, that's really not going to get to what we're wanting. It's a real in the moment process of getting to a possible place to fix it. So you could see as we were working back and forth, there were hits and misses. So let me just give another example that's a true life example. And it was folks were not, the problem defined was that providers are not receiving referrals for evidence-based practice employment. Why? The regional counselors are not referring anyone. Why? Because they either don't have enough knowledge to know how to use the methodology, and some folks don't even know what the evidence-based practices are. Why? Because they have not had training. Why? Because there's not been a mandate from the leadership folks that all VR counselors need to have training in customized employment methodology, how that has become part of WIOA in a law, which is a critical concern if folks don't understand who are counselors that, for example, customized employment is now a part of the law for WIOA and an option. So do you see how then the solution would be to establish training so that folks are educated on that? Where before there was just confusion as to why aren't we getting referrals? So does that make more sense, Robin?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Oh, you are so welcome. So what I want you to do now, we only have 10 minutes, and actually let's do this. Or Russell, help me think through this. So the next thing we want to do is break into Zoom rooms, and how the teams work together. And how are you leading? Are you directing the day-to-day activities, or are you leveraging the leadership team for that? And if you are still calling the shots, solving the day-to-day problems, and jumping in to save the day despite having a competent leadership team, why is that happening? And that's where we would use the 5 whys. But we've got 50 minutes, so that would really not give us enough time to break into the rooms to give y'all a chance to answer that and then try the 5 whys. So let's start there next time. And again, like I said, all of these build on one another. So if we don't get done in any one session, that's okay, because it's going to fit well with what we would be doing in the next session. Russell, any thoughts on that?
No, I really I really enjoyed that piece, and I'm not just saying that because I'm your colleague, but I think that a lot of times you as consultants, again, we've been in positions where like we can impact and affect, like in the past when we were running programs or directors of programs, like it's our, we're part of identifying problems and then working through a solution with everybody. But as consultants, when we come in from the outside, like it's interesting how many times you bump into these I guess I would say dilemmas or barriers or problems, and they're just sitting there, and they're impacting everybody's work. But maybe in the example similar to the one that y'all just worked through, that it's not that they haven't been addressed directly necessarily, but it's just interesting how it's obvious to everybody, like this is an issue, like we really need to figure out, but it just doesn't get solved, or it gets worked on around the edges, maybe a little bit, temporarily. But those are, like the where you guys ended up was, okay, there may be stuff that's really core issues here. Like it's not just this thing. There's probably all that, like why, there's other things where that type of, like, it's fear-based, or we're worried about just having an honest conversation. And if everybody's feeling like this, like, why haven't we had this conversation yet? That could lead to good people leaving, right? People being fearful, dissatisfied. When you're fearful, it's hard to do great work because you're worried about,
right.
So it's just, I just think that it's just really, I just like that idea of, and again, not something probably you want to do on your own, like you're saying you want to.
Right, it's a team.
Yes, yeah.
Unless you're painting.
Yes, yeah, right. But and oftentimes, there are things that last years, that we cannot. I can tell you one of the things that I still struggle with. In a lot of my projects for the last Well, since WIOA is pre-ETS, which is a wonderful thing, but we're heading into pre-ETS season. And guess what happens to all the other services when pre-ETS season comes along? Again, and this is every year we have this conversation. Every year, like the individualized services just basically get stopped for a lot of places where we work with, because now they're going to these pre-ETS programs. And we have not, we just kind of watch the season, the pre-ETS season go, and then we know what's going to happen. People lose opportunities because staff can't follow up on it because they got to do the program. Not saying in California necessarily, but other places. And because we're not asking these questions, we're really looking at it. And not that there's, like you said, there's not necessarily one answer, but it's like you figuring out different possibilities, different scenarios. And it just kind of goes on and on and on. And tough.
Absolutely. Thank you.
We had a meeting this morning about that, so it's coming. So sorry, that's fresh on my mind.
So any other comments from folks? We've got about, 6 minutes? And does this seem like something, and it takes practice? Russell, would you go back to the slide before this one?
Yeah, and there's Jessica has a question. Is it okay if?
Oh, yes.
Hi, thank you. It's more of a comment, I think. Maybe it's a question. Oftentimes when we're asking the why things, the solution that we come to is staff need more training. Oh, staff need more training on making sure that they're entering all of this stuff into the system exactly right. Oh, staff need more training on Your example of the problem of referral was a good one. So if you get down to the why and you get to staff need more training, I guess I'm concerned that we would miss out on looking at other things that we may need to also address.
So then that would be, you would prioritize, right? Am I understanding you correctly? That in this 21st century workforce, work environment, global change, technology has become huge. That's going to require training. Best practices and evidence-based practices. We now have fidelity scales. That's going to require tons of training. New resources, new ways that we get help, grants out there. And so that's part of the ongoing working of an organization. So one of the tenets of an evidence-based organization is that there is continual staff improvement, orientation to new methods, training to how to implement the new methods, developing mentorships. So in an evidence-based practice, one of the things that will be constant and ongoing is training. And one of the reasons why staff leave positions is they were asked to do something, but they never received training to do it. So imagine, yes, it takes time to train folks, but it also takes time for folks floundering out there in, a sad state of trying to do something that they were told they've got to do and get outcomes for, but they've never been told how to do it. Is that
here's an example of something, and I know we're at time. We have in California, when the counselor puts in where the person lives, right, we have 58 counties, but what we end up with is many, many, many more than 58 responses coming into our case management system. So people will oftentimes, when we're talking about the why, say that the solution is more training for the counselor, to tell them it's important that you put in the county correctly, don't put in the city, do it the same way every time, just put the name of the county, double check it. That's the training option. The other option is change the computer system so that you can't just, it's not an open-ended field. There's only 58 choices to choose from. It's a drop-down bar. You pick the thing. So you know what I mean? So sometimes like you go to training as the solution, but really there may be more if you keep asking those why questions as to why is the person, you know, why are they doing it wrong?
Absolutely. And what I would do is ask, is someone who has the knowledge of the technology, the coding system, all of that, are they in the conversation? Are they in the team meeting to do the why? And so are they providing good information? Do you feel like what they're sharing is helpful?
Well, I think oftentimes their first reaction is we need to train the end user to enter the correct data. And so they tend to go towards that as the solution. And it's like, that's a piece of the solution, but that is not the entirety of the solution.
So, you know what I might do in this situation? There are two factors at play and they're separate. So I think I would have the team that is the end user where it's screwing up meet and do the why. And then I would have the technology folks meet and do the why. And if one of the solutions is they're saying is to train this person, then I would probably pull that out and say the training doesn't solve the problem. Why? Because it still is too many options or whatever. I don't even know enough to know what the why would be. But sometimes you need to break if there are interrelated systems, breaking them up, let one system really get a good handle on what their issue is, the other, the perspective they bring, and then come together to look at those things, not integrate them, but separately, then bring the two factions together to look at what the counselors have come up with as the issue, and then come together to look at the technicians. And if that still doesn't get to it, looking at, okay, who is not here to help us solve that should be that thing of, are the right people in the right place doing the right thing sort of deal. So does that make sense, Jessica?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
And I am so sorry, Nancy. We are
Yeah,
bumping
I
right
know.
into another training, so I'm going to have to run. So, but this is
Yeah.
recorded. Thank you so much, everybody.
Yeah, and we'll
Sorry to
see
end it
y'all.
abruptly.
Yeah, we'll see you at our next meeting, and we'll pick up here. Did we get all the chats?
I think it'll be saved as well. So maybe we come back and talk about it next
Excellent.
time.
So yes, absolutely.
Thanks,
Well,
everybody.
thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.